All right, so are you ready for this? You sent this over, and wow. This one's a little different. You know how much I love a good deep dive, right? And this one, it's like a single screenshot you sent me, just a fragment of some online activity, but it feels like the beginning of a digital puzzle. It's a GitHub issue comment. And I gotta say, the details are very intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah, intriguing is a good word for it. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, even in just this little snapshot.
Exactly. So let's start with the basics. Okay, we're looking at a repository called Sourcing, and the issue is titled www.tag1, which was opened just today, October 30th, 2024. But it's the comment that really caught my eye. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, let's break it down. The comment itself is short. It just says Cyberegime. The text was updated successfully, but these errors were encountered.
It's like a riddle wrapped in a technical glitch, right?
Right, and it was posted by the repository owner themselves, Sourcing. It's that contradiction that really throws me off. The text updated successfully, but there are errors. What kind of digital sorcery is this? Well, knowing how GitHub works, text updated successfully, that likely refers to some kind of code or data modification. So this comment isn't just a casual note. It seems to be reflecting an action that was taken within the repository itself.
So, Cyberegime, what do we make of that? Is it a project name?
Yeah.
A variable, some kind of like cryptic message is just hanging there, bold as brass?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And those errors encountered. Without seeing the actual error messages themselves, it's hard to say for sure. But it does imply that something unexpected happened during this text update.
Okay, so we've got code being changed, a cryptic term appearing, and errors popping up. Where do we even begin to unravel this?
I mean, if we were debugging this in real time, we'd check the error logs, see the surrounding code. But with this, we only have this one frame of the film, so to speak.
It's like we've stumbled onto the scene of a digital crime, but all we have is this blurry security camera image. We know something happened, but the details are so tantalizingly out of reach.
Exactly. So let's play detective. Given what we know about software development and how GitHub is used, what are some possible scenarios that could explain this situation? Okay, well, let's start with the most straightforward possibility. Okay, what if Cyberegime was meant to be part of this www project all along?
Okay, so it's intentionally there, but then why the errors? You would think a programmer would make sure their code works before pushing an update, right?
Well, you'd think so. But remember, software development is complex. It's entirely possible that Cyberegime, while intended, caused some unforeseen conflicts. Or it maybe triggered some kind of validation rule within the system itself.
So a bit like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, but in code.
Exactly. The system might have registered the update as successful, because the text was technically modified. But then it encountered these errors because of what was inserted. It's like you're baking a cake and the ingredients list says flour, but you accidentally use salt. Technically, you follow the recipe, but the result is not quite what you expected.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what if Cyberegime isn't a piece of code at all? What if it's meant to be like a message?
That's another possibility. Think about how developers use comments in their code. They can be explanations, reminders, or even jokes sometimes. Maybe mass sourcing was trying to communicate something using this seemingly innocuous platform.
But why be so cryptic about it? And why the errors? It doesn't seem like a very effective way to get a message across.
Well, what if the message wasn't intended for everyone to see? What if Cyberegime is part of a larger hidden communication? Think about steganography. You know the art of hiding messages in plain sight.
You mean they're using GitHub as like a secret Dropbox? That's pretty sneaky. But how would the errors fit into all of that?
Well, the errors could be deliberate, a way to further obscure the true nature of the communication. Or perhaps something interfered with the message transmission, a network glitch, a security filter, or even deliberate interception by somebody.
Okay, so we've got a potential secret message, possibly garbled in transit. It's like a digital game of whispers where the original message gets distorted along the way. But there's still one piece of this puzzle that I'm kind of hung up on.
What's that?
This whole Sourcing thing. What do we know about them? Who are they and what's their motivation? Without that context, it's hard to make sense of any of this.
You're absolutely right. We're missing a huge chunk of the story here. Are they a lone wolf developer, a group with an agenda, or something else entirely? I mean, that's where the real mystery lies.
It's like we're trying to solve a crime without knowing anything about the victim or the suspects. Frustrating, but intriguing, wouldn't you say? But hold on, there's another even more mind-bending possibility that we haven't even considered yet.
Oh, I'm all ears. What are you thinking?
Okay, so what if Cyberegime isn't intentional at all? Like, what if it's not a cleverly crafted message or a piece of code gone rogue, but something else entirely, something we haven't even thought of?
You're thinking about the unintended consequences of complex systems, right? That's a fascinating angle, and one we definitely can't ignore in this digital age.
Exactly. Like, we tend to think of computers as these predictable machines, just following instructions to the letter. But the reality is it's far more nuanced than that, especially when you consider the sheer scale and the interconnectedness of the systems that we're dealing with.
Think about it this way. Every line of code, every data point, every user interaction creates a ripple effect. And these ripples, they interact in ways that are often impossible to predict, leading to what we call emergent behavior way. Outcomes that weren't programmed, outcomes that weren't intended.
So, Cyberegime, it might not be a deliberate creation at all, but rather an unexpected byproduct of this complex digital ecosystem, almost like a glitch in the matrix, so to speak.
That's the idea. Could be a fragment of data that got corrupted somehow, a system anomaly, or even a result of multiple systems interacting in ways that nobody ever foresaw. And the errors encountered, that could just be the system's way of flagging this anomaly. Like, hey, this is a digital outlier. We don't know what to do with this.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? We strive for so much control, for predictability in our digital world. But sometimes these systems we create, they almost have a mind of their own, like a digital Frankenstein's monster.
It really is. It's a powerful analogy. It reminds us that even with all of our technological advancements, we're still grappling with that unpredictable nature of complex systems.
So where does this leave us with our cyber regime mystery? Are we any closer to actually understanding what it all means?
Perhaps not in a definitive sense. But I think we've explored a range of possibilities, from intentional code to hidden messages to these unintended consequences. And in doing so, I think we've gained a much deeper appreciation for how intricate the workings of our digital world really are.
It's like we've zoomed in on a single pixel in a vast digital canvas, and we've discovered a whole universe of complexity within it.
Exactly. And that, I think, is the true value of this deep dive. It's not necessarily about always finding concrete answers, but about expanding our understanding of the digital landscape and the forces that are shaping it.
So for those of you listening, here's something to ponder. As our systems become increasingly complex and interconnected, what role do unintended consequences play in shaping our digital future? Are we prepared for the surprises that might be waiting for us? And most importantly, how do we navigate a world where that line between control and chaos is becoming increasingly blurred? Keep those questions in mind as you venture further into the digital frontier. Until next time, stay curious.